Whoops, wrong button. There we go. Welcome everyone. I hope everyone's going well tonight. Yeah, let's get right back into it. I'm just going to... There we go. Alright, so... I did a few things on the weekend, not much. But I did do another release. We've got the version 17 up there right now. We're going to update this to that version. So we're just going to go into the package JSON. We're just going to go, all right, cool, version 17. Oops, I've got this on the Mac binding still. There we go. We're going to go npm install on here. And, npm audit fix. Now, there we go, sweet. All right. I don't know what it fixed. Yeah, I know, socks. So that's the change we've done. Okay, base expansion. All right, cool. Yeah. All right. Let's get back into it. There was also npm, or what was it? Npm package dependency tree. What was it that I was looking at today? Something I was looking at, which I found pretty cool about the dependencies and stuff like that. I don't think that's it. It was for a web page. Kind of like this, but this is just showing the size of the bundle. Actually, this might actually. Okay. That's something we might include in Welk. All right, incoming ad break. Ad starts in a minute. All right, cool. Yeah, I forgot what it is. It's fine. I was just going to have a look at other stuff. But we've updated Welk, which is, all right, cool. We did the quick little patch. I've also got to go through here and redo a lot of this and so forth like that. That means that now if we go into here, we can go npm run dev. We should be able to see this pop up, sweet, which is good. You can see that there's new colors coming through just because we're picking all the colors that we want. I've still got to go through and finalize a lot of those colors from Welk's side of things. It's going to take a while. I cannot make up my mind when doing a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I've got to figure out default colors. So if no one puts in, let's say, primary, secondary, or anything like that, the colors will default to a certain set. I haven't figured that out. For example, this top one, I don't know why that's that black color, but when this one's blue, yeah, I've got to figure it all out. But we've done that, which is kind of cool. what else have I done? I've had a look at this. As you can see, I kind of implemented this screen. You can clearly see that the select, there's two things that I've got to actually fix. One is the padding around everything. This is just, it doesn't look like this. So we've got to get the padding right and consistent between each of the different inputs. And we've just hit an ad break. All right, we won't be long, hopefully. For those on YouTube, we run ads every half an hour on Twitch. That's to stop the pre-rolled ads because they suck. You just get to see me. I can answer questions. And you get to see Socks. There she is. Yep, causing trouble. So, yeah. Hopefully everyone's going well. We've got about a minute left. So, yeah. I'm hoping this week to sort of outline all the issues I'm having with Welk and then go back and sort of fix them, go through every single issue and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll start actually putting more issues into our issue tracker. Let's just bring up this. We're going to go select component. Currently, select component, margin and padding sizes do not match other inputs. And we're just going to grab a screenshot of that in a second. I can do that now. As per the screenshot of the consistency. Yeah. All right, easy done. And we're back from the ads. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone's going well. I am going to, I'll bring this down so you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. Yeah, we're just putting in a little bug report. We're just going to say, yeah, this is normal. Yeah, this is a bug submitted. It'll be assigned to me. UI UX. I'm just going to do something like that. And good day, Sir Kendall. How are you going? Hopefully you're going well. We won't have fixed version or anything like that. So yeah, there we go. Created something very, very quick and easy. So yeah, the color scheme definitely not being consistent whatsoever. We've got to fix that too. So that can actually be with the same screenshot, believe it or not. Input components are not consistent with color schemes as per the screenshot above. You can see that there is no consistency between the select and the plain input. So yeah, that's something that we definitely want to tackle very, very quickly. Hopefully in the next patched version we can do that, but yeah, it just requires me figuring out what I want to do for that, because there was a bunch of stuff I wanted to sort of tackle when it comes to Welk. However, I'm realizing that it's going to be a lot of work, and a lot of that was the flexibility that I wanted to put into Welk. However, that being said, it's going to be a lot of work once again. So I'm stripping that back out down. All right, so we've got all of those. Let's go back to the NearBeach application. So yeah, we're going to have to deal with the inconsistencies with the shape and color at the moment. They'll be fixed when we fix it in Welk. Another thing that I want to do in Welk is I've been looking at documentation that serves both being documentation and a testing ground. So I'm having a look at a couple of Vue libraries where I could do that. And that way I can have documentation in there that uses Welk in itself to sort of show Welk. So yeah. All right, now that's a bug. Yeah, that's definitely a bug. I've also got to think about how I'm going to handle error messages and so forth like that. In the current version of NearBeach, we have toasts. However, in this sort of case, toasts can be good and bad. One problem with toasts is if an error pops up in the bottom right, are you guaranteed to see it? Whereas if we have, let's say we have updating, and let's say you have an internet connection and try sending off something, and you've just lost your internet connection without realizing. And you click, let's say, add your project. You kind of want it to pop up here being like, listen, current issue, we can't do that, and so forth like that underneath there. But if I'm going to do that there, I've got to do that for every single place where we do that update. So if we just go to the mock-up, let's say you're updated these and you hit update project details here. You kind of want that to show there. You also I'm just looking at the properties too. You kind of want that error to appear here also. So if I update the status, and let's say I've just lost internet connection, and we're going to say that that status, if someone clicks on it and changes it, it'll update automatically. What I want it to do is I want an error to pop up below. Now, we've already got in place very much like this right here. For example, this field has a maximum length of this and so forth like that. We already have that functionality there. And it might be an idea when we're updating these single fields that it has some sort of status in there. And then when we hit an error, we hide the status and we show the error. I like that idea. All right, cool. So, with the current version of NearBeach, I'm just going to zoom in. We'll have the error message that currently sits there like that. We could do that the same with the potentially the status. Oops. I was meant to actually write something in. And we could have like the status did not update. We could also deal with, have a two-prong attack. Have both the status there and then have a toast pop up that states the reason why we've got this error. And I think that would be good. And then if the user changes the status again, all right, I like that idea. Anyway. I'm just going to close all tabs. We are going to go back to creating the new project. All right, so we're here. We've We've got to do the validation. Alright, sorry, I am just trying to remember where I've put everything. So, first off, let's go source components. Let's go new object. We're opening up the new object. We're going to scroll all the way. Oops, so used to the other method, the other way of doing things. So we got the card header. That card header is perfectly fine. We're all fine with all that. We've got the whelk text input and the whelk select, and we've got the update values and so forth like that. Now, we've got the create object. I think what I've done, and I've done this in a silly way. You haven't done any error handling. I've accidentally ripped out if a field is valid or not. All right. So we have the new object, update validation. Okay. I can see that we're going to have a loop at the moment. All right, with the whelk text input, we've got a is valid being admitted up. So we've got the value and we're putting it into update validation, title model value. That will go in here. Field validation with the field equals the value. And then that changes that. Do I have field validation actually set? Oh, yep. Yes, I do. All right, so we've got the group and we've got the title. All right, cool. So it looks like I am doing things a bit smart here. And then with the create object, what I want to do is I want to set up the validation first. And that will require me actually double checking everything. So I'm going to go ref equals, this will be the title model ref. We'll fix that up in a minute. And then we'll need the ref, and that will be the group model ref. All right. Yeah. Oh, I don't. I should do it like this. Like that. All right, like that. I'm gonna have to look this up I need to double check that I'm doing this correctly. All right, these are just template refs. So use template ref. So I am doing this incorrect. All right. And then, yeah, it's just like that. All right, cool. Just make a double check that I don't need. All right. So I can get rid of that. And then what I can actually do, this will be the text. This will be the title ref. We'll do something like that. With this one, it'll be the group ref. Easy done. Then we're going to go define template refs. We're just going to go const. Then we'll have group template ref equals. Is it use? Yeah, use template ref. And then we just go group ref, like, oh, piss off. Yeah, that's it. It quite literally says use tab to. One thing. All right, and then we'll have title temp ref. That'll be title ref. All right, cool. So when we're in here now. Just as a double check, I'm going to get it to rerun the validation. If now this is doing the check. This will be very quick because there's just two. Field validation dot sum row. Such that the row dot, and as you can see, does that actually work? I know we've done this before because this is key value. All right. Yeah, we just got that. We kind of want to sum. No, we don't want that. All right, filter key. If such that the key is key. No, that won't work. All right. All right. JavaScript key value filter where the values are true or false. All right. Yep, like that. From entries. All right. But we want some function to filter key value pairs false. I mean, that might be close to what we want. All right, so if I go if, and I go entries, actually, no, this will be field validation dot filter, where we've got key value nothing to do, return. All right, so I've got some of that done. And then what I want is return the value as false, and yet, no, it doesn't like any of that. Now that is possibly undefined. I know we did this. And hello, Joker Phoenix. How are you going? Hopefully you're going well. It's going to complain, isn't it? I'll tell you what, because there's only just 2 fields in it, we'll do something quick today. So if the field validation dot, and this will be the group model does not equal true, or field validation dot, not the group model, but that will be the title model. It's not equal true, does not pass validation. All right, and now it's complaining about that. All right, yep, I'll give it that. Some method return boolean. Does that work on key value pairs though? Because if I go field validation dot sum, and if I go key value return that, it's going to throw up an issue. Oh, but it's meant to be in brackets like that. So it can see that the field validation is some string boolean. Define data. Oh, you find? Oh, that's good to hear. And Shek Zod, welcome. What stack is this? This is just VueJS. So yeah. And how am I doing? I can't complain. So yeah. Just figuring this out. I know we did something not that long ago around doing this. It's a bit of a bother because we had to work around TypeScript and stuff like that, and it just got a bit messy, and I think I gave up at one point and said I'm just doing it simply. But if we have X amount of fields and that keeps expanding, this isn't sustainable because I've got to actually edit it here. What I could potentially do is create a composable, put the logic in there, and make it generic enough that it will loop through all of these and make sure that we have no falses. So that will be the end goal. But yeah, this is going to invoke an object which is possibly undefined. So yeah, because it is a record of string and boolean. And yeah, it's like that. Oh, that might be JavaScript loop through all keys in object. So we've done something similar before. Yeah, object keys. We've removed it from here. You're a full stack dev, learning Perl stack. I don't know about TypeScript and Nest.js yet. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. For const of object entries in that. I'm just wondering if I could do a filter. Once again, these are object keys. I can definitely do a loop going through all of them because the idea being is you're not going to have too many fields. You might have at maximum 10 fields, and that's not a lot of, it's not going to take a lot of time. But yeah, I'm just wondering, JavaScript objects sum on keys. Let's see if this is potential. So array prototype sum method with an object keys in JavaScript. You must first convert the object keys into an array. So object keys, this allows you to check at least one key. All right. We might be getting somewhere. So if we go object keys and we just go field validation dot sum and we go predicate of a value index array. I'm just going to go actually, I don't know what's going to come out of that. So I'm going to do something like that, and I'm just going to go console log, and I'm just going to go row, and we're just going to type in row like that, and we're just going to return true. That's perfectly fine for the moment. And then I'm just going to go let a equals that, and then I'm just going to go console log AA. All right, cool. So if I go back over to the NearBeach application, we're going to move that to the left. We're going to refresh everything, and we're going to click that create button. Oh, I can't yet. I'm going to click that create button. So the row comes out like that. Not a problem. I'm just going to see if this happens. No, it doesn't like that. Essentially, we have an object. let's say actually, no, I can show you with the code. We've got this object here. And what I want to do is find out if there's any falses left in any of these keys. If this key is false or if this key is false. Now, at the moment, we can do this, but it's not scalable. If I start adding in more fields that are required, sorry, we just hit add time on Twitch. If I keep adding on fields that are required and so forth like that, I've got to add it in multiple spots. What I want to do is just solve this programmatically, create a composable, so I can reuse that code in other places, and yeah. I think if we go with the for each looping through, I can easily look up that value and see if it's true and false, and then confirm it that way, but I think that is a bit slow. That being said, we're not going to be dealing with a lot of fields in this sort of case. We're only dealing with just a couple, and it might be one of those sort of things that if I try and over optimize it, it's not going to do any benefit whatsoever. We're talking like maybe a millisecond here, something no one will notice at all. It's not like there's going to be hundreds of records here where a millisecond will add up over that. So yeah, I think it might be just the case that I make it so that it's just simple code. All right, welcome back everyone. So what I could potentially do, it looks like I can't pass through the row value, but I definitely have the row. So I can always go to field validation, we type in the row, and then we put an exclamation point there. And then when we boot up again, so I'm just going to start a new one, we're just going to type that in, we're going to go administrator. If we hit that, you can see that happens, and we've got a false, which is great news. And I think that's just going to have to be the solution. And it's going to be something like that, where I pass through the field validation object. It just goes through everything and makes sure there's nothing that is false. What does object keys do? So if we got an object, let's say a equals, let's say, I can never think of, you know what? I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this this up here as an example. I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to pop it in there and realize that I need to actually get rid of the types. Give me 2 seconds. Get rid of all those types. And all right, cool. So I have in here an object. All right, you can see that we've got the group model, that's going to be false, and we've got the title model, and that's also going to be false. If I just want the field names from here, I can just go object.keys, and let's say I can go field validation like that. Now we've got an array of those keys. So yeah, that's all it does. It's just a useful sort of tool or function or method, however you want to say. So, all right. So I'm going to create a composer for this, just because I know I'm going to be using this more and more and more. So we're going to open up source. We're going to be confused a little bit because I thought I created a composer file. Because I created something for the validation. With that said, object.keys converts object into array. No. it gets all the keys in that object and puts those keys in an array. So, for example, going with that example before, let me do this better with that. You can see with the field validation, I've got key values. If I do the object keys, it's only going to grab out the keys, and those keys are then getting put into an array. So you can see group model. Group model and title model. Yeah. Depends. I thought I had composables in here. Give me a couple of seconds. What I'm going to do, go into text editor, let's... No, sorry, I've got composables on Whelp, not in here. All right, sorry. All right, cool. We'll bring that up. For those wondering what composables are, because I only learnt them, I think early last year. So yeah, and that's good, Shaq. Sorry, I'm terrible with pronouncing new names and so forth like that. So yeah. What is a composable? Oops, wrong side. I'll bump that off to the right. In the Vue applications, a composable is a function that leverages Vue's compositional API to encapsulate and reuse stateful logic. I think makes sense, and so forth like that. When building a front-end application, we often need to reuse logic for common tasks. For example, we may need to format dates in many places, so we extract the reusable function for that, which is what we're going to be doing, except it isn't for dates, it's just to validate stuff. This format function encapsulates stateless logic, it takes some input, and so forth like that. So, there I go, there's that. So unmounted, on that, all right, cool. Where is the, mouse. So, in here, you export a function, let's say use mouse, you've got all of that, which we'll be happy with, and then, you return a value. And then down here, you got const use mouse, and there you go, look at that. Reduce method to create a new object. Okay. Let's try that over here because we can. We've got the object, you're saying keys. Let's do field validation like that, and then you're saying reduce. JavaScript reduce, because I don't think I've used this before. That's part of that new protocol. Const array reduce. What will I be doing with the reduce though? Seconds. All right. I'll zoom in. So we've got new object. I don't exactly want a new object. I want a true and false out of it. Accumulate a key, my object. Yeah, at the end of the day, all I want is a true false. Because I just want to know if something's there. If there's any falses, on any of those key value pairs. All right. And in this sort of case, what we're going to do, all fields valid. .ts. We want to export function all fields valid. We're going to have an input. I'm just double checking. Yep, it is that. We're going to have. This is where I want to keep the same sort of naming convention all the way through. Field validation. All right, and we essentially. I'm just going to copy that. Like so. Now this is not an arrow function, is it? No, it's just normal. All right, cool. So what I want to do here, and we'll do it step by step, is I want to object.keys.field validation. I just want to see if there's something in there like that, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to use sum, and I'm going to use a row here, very much like we did before, and then I'm going to return, and we can shrink this down, where the field of validation and the row is that, and then that will give us a true and false, and that's what we're returning. So, in fact, this can actually be shrunk down even further. I'm just going to do the delete befores. We can delete that, and it is really only just 3 lines here. This would be composables, and then all fields valid .ts. Yeah, and then this would be a boolean. Now, if field validation undefined, all right, this is where I need. I've got to think about this. I can go with the positive, going all fields are valid. I do need to actually edit my logic in here. I need to actually do a negative of this. Just because if there's any false values in there, it means it's failed validation. Or the alternative is I rename this and I name it fail validation. Which, in this sort of case, I think will be better. That way, failed validation will come through as true. Oh, sorry, that's meant to be returned true there. If field validation is undefined, fail by default, easy done. Any falses exist, fail. Right, cool. There we go. I think that's good. That's good enough. And then we just rename this, easy done. Just going to right hand click I can never find this. All right. There we go. That's our composable. So that means in here, we go fail validation, and then we just go field validation in here, and that's it. So, this just does a double check with all the fields, making sure everything's valid and stuff like that before we hit the submit button. That's just an extra step which we're adding in. I can get rid of that. That's no longer needed. Then it notifies the user of the action. So is form submitting equals true, easy done, and then we can do that. In this sort of case, we're looking for false. Not true. So we've got the negative indication there. So if this comes out as false, this will make it true. We don't need the return there whatsoever. Then this whole thing will come out as true. If, however, all of these are true, that comes out as false. The sum will come out as false, meaning we've got all trues. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. That's also something we could potentially put into a composable, because that will be used everywhere. We just need to pass the object through, which isn't too hard to do. It does get fiddly when I start doing that though. But that's possible. That's very, very possible to do. And then yeah, that might work if I just put that in a composable. Oh, hang on, we're doing logic after the fact though. Yeah, all right, because we're doing some logic after that fact, no, I won't put it in a composable. All right, going back to this, I'm just gonna hit refresh. I'm just gonna, wrong button, there we go, it's done, we'll hit refresh again. I'll go to new project. I can't click the create button because we did fix that issue before. But if I start typing stuff in, there we go, the create button becomes active again. And then if I sneaky do something like that, and then I hit create, oh, that should have failed. Yeah, that should have failed. Oh, I might not have. All right. Don't worry. I think I know why. Yes. All right, cool. Now I've got to do the second part of this whole entire process. I've actually got to call these correctly. So, is required max length and min length are no longer done like this. Instead, what we do is we have the validation rules. This is just going to be a simple array. We'll have required, we'll have max length as 255, and we'll have the min length of 5. And this is what we were building in with whelk in the last stream. So that way we just condense everything down even further. And these are just needed to be imported from whelk. Like so. Easy done. I've also got to do that with this one down here. So is required is gone. We don't have any other sort of validation with that. So we just go validation rules equals, oops, required. I can't type. And that's pretty much it. So if we hit refresh and I type something like that, ooh, notice that. Yeah. Now, once again, I need to go through and make sure everything's consistent. I'm currently doing that with, well, that is meant to be red text. We'll fix that up, don't you worry. However, I am going to log that as a bug. We've got the JetBrains stuff over here. I'll move that over there. I'm just going to quickly new bug this right now. So this would be text input component. Error message has wrong color. Easy done. The error message color should be red. This is normal, this is all submitted. This is part of, this will be assigned to me. This is part of UI UX. It'll be an easy fix. But yeah, we're getting in. Sorry, I'm trying to put in as many bugs as possible so I can keep track of everything. Alright, where is NearBeach? There it is. So, let's not worry about that, but let's do something like that, and then we've got that line in there, and if we do something like that, it's not letting us create the button, it's now disabled. I'm going to have, once again, I'm going to go and make the defaults work a little bit better than that. We type stuff all the way in. I'm doing this purposely, creating as many. There we go, we've also got that fixed. Alright, cool. And then, yeah, that did the validation perfectly fine. We're back here. I can now start building out this page. And once again, we've got to ignore all the randomness that Welk has passed through. I will fix this up. So, yeah, don't you worry. But we can now start working on this page. So let's get into it. All right, new object I'm happy with. I am going to go git status, so git add, git commit, update Welk UI, and implement the new changes to the new component. Implement the new Welk changes, Welk UI. Let's to the new object component. All right, cool. npm run dev, easy done. So then we jump back over here. And at the moment, I'm going to leave the description as a text area. I do want to implement in here the quills.js. Something like, and pretty much this. Something easy, something where we can add in pictures, we can add in links, and so forth like that. Yeah. Something small, a lot smaller than Tiny Mouse. Let's just say that. In fact, let's have a look at npm. Let's actually do that. All right, cool. And if we look at Quill, is it just Quill? Yeah, this is a lot smaller. If we had a look at Tiny Mouse, yeah, all right, cool. Server error. Don't worry about it. So we will be moving to that, but for the moment, we're just keying in this. That will be the next sort of thing once I get Welk to a certain state. I've also got the tabs. All right, cool. Yeah, let's start rearranging stuff in here. We might as well. And we might as well start putting in our error messages and so forth like that, and any sort of buttons. So let's go, not NearBeach, sorry, this will be under source, this will be under components, this will be the project. We do have something looking like that. I might move all of these around in the near future. Some of them are going to be reused in different places and so forth like that. So we'll move those components to more appropriate areas. As you can see, there's quite a lot used in here. That's perfectly fine. We're once again going to move stuff around. So we have project information. Oops. We've got project information. We've got the container. We've got all of this. And then some of that is getting moved around. So we'll have the details component, which will be here. We'll then have the tabs component, which will be in here. That will have linked object, project documentation, notes and comments, and sprint planning and public links in there. So we'll remove some items from over here. The only items on the right will be properties, group properties, essentially the group access and user access, and then the stakeholders. And I kind of really do like the buttons looking like that for those, so I might actually key it into Welk too like that, which is something we can easily do. We can have dotted and outlined and all that kind of stuff, fun stuff, which yeah, we'll implement. All right. So project details. All right, so we've got the container, we've got the properties component. That is just like this, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, project information, yep, that'll be like that. Yeah, cool. We've done something for the properties component, so you'll notice this in there twice. And the idea is on a big screen, the properties will appear on the right. However, when you start shrinking stuff, they'll appear right down here. Now, start date and end date aren't there just yet because I think I've hid them here at the moment. Yeah, I've hidden them here at the moment. Just because I still got to do those date time pickers in Welk. That's one of the next things that I need to actually also implement. So yeah. Then we got linked objects, document components, and notes tab. So what I want to do is Welk. We want tabs. Oh, what? Oh, don't say I haven't actually exported the tabs. Okay, that's going to be a problem if I haven't. All right, let's just git pull everything. Oops, I just put a semicolon at the end of stuff. Git pull. I can't even type. Let's just put that over there. Let's just minimize all of that. So we should have the latest code of Welk here. If I minimize everything, I'm going to open up Welk. We're going to open up the source. We're going to open up the components. We're going to open up the index. And I don't think I have tabs on here. Yeah, Welk tabs. No, I do have Welk tabs. Maybe I've not used them before. Welk tabs are pretty easy to use. Well, we're hoping they're going to be easy to use. Famous last words. For us, they're easy to use. If I just bring up the local, you'll have a tab list. And then under each of those, you'll have a template. And essentially, it's just a connection like that. So if we grab this and go over into NearBeach, we'll just paste that in. There we go. We'll need that interface, so we'll import it. It's going to be that easy. We'll have the tab list. So down here, what we'll have is tab list equals tab list. There we go. It won't be like that. It'll be like that. Other things that we'll need. I've got it like that there, but I'm being consistent here. All right, cool. We'll have stuff like that. Now we'll need to import this. So we'll have Welk tabs from Welk UI. Easy done. I'm going to get rid of these very, very quickly, at least most of them. We're going to go label. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do a for, and I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to get rid of that. We're going to have a look at this. So, we'll need linked objects. That's going to be front and center. Like that. Then our next thing is going to be project documentation. So we're just going to type in documentation. Just going to keep it simple like that. We'll then have notes and comments. All right, easy done. And then public links and sprint planning, that's going to be MISC. We're going to shove them both together. Now, another little problem that we actually have is these will need to be translated. And that's our next problem that we're going to tackle. So, for example, if a Japanese person were going to use this, they'll need this to be in Japanese. But first, let's actually do this. So we'll need, there'll be linked, I'm just going to say, oh yeah, linked objects. And then we need documentation. And then we'll need notes. And then we'll need MISC. And then in here, all we're going to be doing, so we're going to key in what we need. Like that. That's it. I'm just splitting these down the line. So we've got the document component, we've got the notes component, and then I'm going to take the public links and sprint planning from here, and we'll keep them in here. It's going to look ugly like this, but once again, we're going to, once we've got this out and fix up Welk, we're going to fix up all of the layout issues and so forth like that. As you can see, there it is. Pretty easy. We need to add in code in here. There's no margin on this card whatsoever. We'll get to that. But the project documentation looks good. The notes and comments look good. And the MISC looks good too. Now, one little tiny thing that I do not like is that this is not in a card format. So I'm going to remove the card format from these ones in here, and I'm going to put it on the outside. And that's pretty easy. So what we've got to do for that is Yeah, it has to be on the outside. So we go whelk card. Like so. We're just going to go all the way down here. We're going to paste it like this. I'm just going to format everything very, very quickly. I'm just also going to jump into these linked objects. So in the linked object, you can see it's like this. In here, I don't think I need any classes for this, but I do need to import it. Like so. So there we go. We've kind of got that sort of working, but I kind of want, I need to name this. I'm going to call it extra information. Down here, we've got the project information, we've got all of that, and then we've got the container, and we're all sort of happy with that. But we've got the properties component. So if I go over here, we've got the whelk card component, extra information. I'm just so that will be general details. There's the properties component. Yep, all right, cool. We've got the card with the margin bottom. Now that should be, now whelk card. That's something we've got to do. Oh, I've left it as whelk card component. All right, that's not good. That's a bug. So this would be whelk card has the incorrect class whelk card component. All right. The class for this component should be whelk card, and that's it. This is actually going to be a little bit of a critical one. So that's something I have missed. That's why we're writing it in as a report. But what I can do is I can key that in there for the moment. That should cover, there we go. So yeah, that should cover that. Now that I've done that, what we've got to do is we're just going to delete this, we're going to delete this, we're going to delete this, and we're going to delete this, and we're going to format stuff like there. Now, the thing is, I don't think I need that header 2 as bold anymore. So I'm just giving a little think in my head how I can tackle this. Because yeah, that's a header 2. It's really, really big. This is kind of, yeah, sure, this might be a header 2, but if I have a look at the other sort of areas, these are header 3s. Yeah, I mean, if we do it as a header 3, sure, but then I need a bit of margin at the top too, in there, which we could do with the CSS. But if we actually get rid of it completely, that kind of makes sense. Same with this one too. Oh, I need to deal with the drop downs. All right, that's a bug. This will be drop down component. Currently does not render the label. All right, cool. The drop down to the right of the filter document does not contain any text or indication that there is a drop down. All right, cool. This is going to be a bit of a critical one because I do need this for the documentation thing. So yeah, once again, with the project documentation, do we need that element there? Because we've got the documentation up there. In which case, if I just delete that node, we've got documentation like this. It does. Yeah. So I'm just giving you a little think how I want to do this with the notes and comments. Once again, I got to think about that. Possibly flawless. Welcome, welcome. I do hope you are enjoying my content. How are you going? I'm going good, going good. Just thinking through out loud how I want to sort of tackle these. Like, we've got the header right there. Do we really need this? I can include a little bit of instructions and so forth like that in here. Yeah. No, I've got to get rid of the card components in here. That's going to be pretty easy to do. I should do that first. That way I can have a look at it properly. So we've done the linked objects. I just need to do this one now. Hold on, did I delete something weird? No, I didn't. All right, cool. Delete all of that. I can delete that. That's perfectly fine. All right, cool. We've got something simple in there. Easy done. Then we've got the notes companion. Once again, we want to get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm, yeah, tossing up whether I want the header. We've got public links. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Bump everything in like that. That's going to be a very dumb component for the moment. Yeah, we'll get rid of that, we'll get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, and get rid of that, and then do something like that, and easy done. That should get us this. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap probably something in here to give us a bit of margin from the walls. Which we can do in the CSS. So if we have that whelp card, yada yada, margin bottom, so I'm working on NearBeach, which is an open source project management system. We actually use NearBeach to build NearBeach. So this is what it currently looks like. It essentially what you can do is you can gather basic organization and customer details. From there, you can gather user requirements and break them down into requirement items. You can use a Kanban board or tasks or projects. And when you're ready to deploy, there's a request for change system. So yeah. We are currently doing a massive refactor of NearBeach. There's just a lot of technical debt in there, a lot of things I've learned over the years where I'm like, you know what, I can build this better. So yeah, currently doing that. And we're doing, my weakest point at the moment is design, and we're doing it today. Ignore the fact that it does look pretty horrible here. There's a lot of things that I've got to change, especially around colors, sizing, and so forth like that. So yeah. Right. I'm just thinking how I want to do this. And I think I know how. Alright. So we've got the linked objects. I always want to do this. There's a reason why I want to do this. Sprint planning. Oops. This would be public links. And I'll probably end up getting rid of the notes component out of this. I just have it as notes. All right, this will be document. Yeah, I don't want component as a word in this anymore in the naming conventions, but that's fine. It's another day's sort of task to do. So we've got a bunch of those, which means I've got a bunch of divs, which means I can go down here. I can have a look at the extra information. So I go down here, we've got container, we've got properties component, we've got the cards and all that kind of thing. I'm trying to remember where this lives on the scope of things. So we have container and then extra information. Property information, container. And then we have extra information. And then under that, we've got a div. And here we want to go width, and we're going to calculate something in here. We're going to go width is going to be 100% minus, and I'm going to go 1 REM for the moment. We'll do the proper calculations in a second. We then want to go margin auto. And there you go. That's knocking off a bit of width on each side. Where we've got 0.5 margin on each side. If I change that to a 2, there we go. But it also does it for the tabs too. So we've got the tabs component, and then we can go further down. I've got padding left. And where is that set? That's on Welk. All right. Yeah, all right. Give me 2 seconds. Oops. Yeah, it's this line here that we don't want. I'm just going to have to record that in a bug. I'm going to have to do that at a later date. We can't fix it right this second because I require to push it and all that kind of fun stuff. But we can record the bug and I can tackle it easily. So this will be Welk tab. Welk tab header has unwanted padding. Alright, cool. The padding in Welk tab header causes the following issue. And then what we can do is we can jump over here, we can hover over that, we can just take another screenshot. We'll just do that like that. And then we'll just copy that. Oops, yep, I did press Control C. We go back over here, we just paste this in like this, and then we just state that this causes issue with alignment of the tab header with the other content. Alright, so what I've got to do is just essentially remove it. Let's right. Cool, that's just going to be normal, that's perfectly fine. I do need to assign this to myself. Alright, cool. So, getting more and more bugs, which is great. More things that we can actually fix. But as you can see, this works perfectly fine. And once again, I don't know what to do with these here. I think the project details is good up here. Part of me says I should remove them. This is just us playing around with it at the moment. We can always add it back in. Alright, so we've got linked objects, we've got documentation, we've got news and content and MISC in there. And once again, we'll add in the code and all that kind of fun stuff a bit later. Now, I want to double check the margin stuff with this top one up here, the general details. We kind of want to copy the same CSS logic for that with the bottom component because there might be a bit different logic when we move into, sorry, not different logic, we might have different CSS values for this margin when we actually go into a smaller phone like so and so forth like that. And Lord Uhuru, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome, welcome. I do hope you are enjoying my content. Alright, so going into here, what we want to do is I'm just going to go project page. I'm going to close all the other tabs. Easy done. We'll just close them. That's perfectly fine. We want to have a look at the general detail component in here. That's perfectly fine. So this is the padding that the general details have at different sizes. We're going to apply that to the margin. I mean, we can do it. I gotta find it first. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's padding or margin in this sort of case. So we can do that. I can get rid of the width and the margin. And then if you have a look over here, there it is. It's looking like it's lining up. If we actually increase this, you'll notice it will bump out the same. All right, cool. Easy done. I like that. And then, yeah, we can work on the card component and so forth like that. Alright, so this is working really, really well. I will say I do like that. We do have add code in 2 different places. The MISC one, we might actually have... I might put back in the headings for the MISC one just because we've actually got 2 different components in there. They're not separated out. So what I want to do is I want to close that. I want to go back into here. We just want to go public links, easy done. We just want to do H3. This one will be public links, easy done. We've got to implement the translation, but we can do that next. That's perfectly fine. In here, we want to go H3 sprint planning, like so. All right. So we've got the 2 different sections in here. I'm happy with that. We can handle the padding and stuff like that at a scoped level. Sorry, not planning. We can handle the margin and the padding at the scope level. So I'm not worried about that being too close to the add code. I'll fix it another day. With the linked object connect, I've got to actually design this. This is the one problem, is I haven't actually designed how I want the linked objects to look like. So, do we have an example? Actually, give me a couple of seconds. I gotta make sure no one has trashed this at all. All right, cool. I hate when I do that. All right. So as you can see, this is the linked object sort of stuff. You got a bit of knowledge off the top, just telling you what it is, and you can see relates to and so forth. That you'll have relates to blocked and all that information in here. All separated. So if I go create new link, and let's say I'm going to have a task, and I'm going to say it's currently blocking this particular task, I can hit that save in there. As you see, we've got is currently blocking and so forth like that. Moving forward, I don't know if I want to actually have this separated out like this. Well, because I should be able to change these very easily. Having them in a sort of table-like format where I can click... Oh, sorry, I've accidentally clicked on that link. I can click it, have a little drop down to actually change it from relates to is currently blocking, so forth like that. A lot better than us having to delete the is currently blocking dual migration link like that and so forth like that, which I don't like. Yeah, I've just got to implement that. So yeah, I've just got to design it. I just have not designed it yet. And having it all in one little thing here where we actually go alphabetical order by the title itself would probably be a lot better too. We'll still have information like if it is a task, a project, and so forth like that. So yeah. And all right, so going back with this, the documentation, I actually like the style. I like this. I'm going to keep that. I like this up here. The drop down, I've just got to work on the drop down. Filter for documents, I might make that a search functionality, which means I've got to implement the API call for that too. Or actually, no, I won't, because I'll actually have... Will I have all the documentation here? I've got to actually figure out if I want all the documentation on a single call, or if, for example, someone clicks on cat photos, it does a request to the backend, fetches just those documents, and then shows it here. So, yeah, I've got to figure that one out. How I want to do that. If I grab everything, so I just grab all the documentation for, let's say, a project or something like that. The vast majority of the times it won't be large. There won't be a large payload or anything like that. It's just a bunch of lists, maybe 10 documents in there and stuff like that. I'm not expecting thousands. However, that being said, someone could eventually do thousands. So, yeah. Gotta figure out how I want to actually tackle that problem. Yeah, I'll come across it one day. Notes and comments. Once again, we'll probably grab the latest 10 and then you'll get to load more. Yeah, that's just going to be simple pagination type of stuff. No biggie. MISC. Yeah, we've got the public links. That just renders those all out. They'll be very similar to the public links here. So if I create a public link, it'll be very similar to that. It'll probably end up looking like that. And then someone can click it and it actually copies that link. We'll have a little thing. You can turn it off to make sure it's not active and so forth like that. Once again, I've got to think how it's going to tell the user what's actually going to happen. So for example, if I click on the active and stuff like that, yeah, and if I delete it, it should tell the user that it's been deleted successfully. So yeah, I've got to figure that one out. Let's just press and go. There we go. That's the public link. Oh, tags. I know I'm doing tags differently. Oh. I've just realized I've missed out on putting tags in. Yeah, I don't like that remove organization there. I might move that over to a little button over here. I've missed tags. That won't be hard to put in. I reckon adding tags in somewhere in here will be good. I just gotta figure it out. All right, cool. So this is, that's good. I've also got to figure out if I can implement it where it doesn't load in any of the data until I need it. So for example, if nothing gets loaded in for documents, notes and comments and MISC until I click on it. That will be nice. Yeah. Alright, play video. Oh, alright. Oh, it's time, 8:30. Alright, cool. Let's get on with the statuses. Because I should also key up the fact that we should be fetching that status data. Yeah, alright, cool. So, let's do that right now. I'm just wondering if I want to put project no, I want the properties always to show, like, alright, cool. Let's just go into here. We don't have the bulk date time at the moment because, yeah, we have programmed that in. But that being said, we can. Let's just put it back in. We got the V model. Let's just put it as a string. All right. The other one is, yeah, let's just put that as a string. This is where we've got to start thinking about the data structure and so forth like that. All right. Oops, I wasn't meant to do that, but that's fine. Let's just get rid of that. We do have an error. Oh. I'll just go to the consoles. Don't freaking do that. I hate when that happens. All right, I'm just going to hit refresh. Let's find this error. All right, cool. Invalid prop, type check failed for model value, expected date number or string, but got undefined. All right, let's just, for the moment, let's just undo that. Let's just deal with the date times next. Because, yeah, I don't want to deal with them yet. Just putting it out there. All right, so we've got the priority model. We've got all of that fun stuff. We want that data to pass down, which is good. Now, if I hit refresh, we should, yeah, perfect. What I want to do is I want to delete everything. I'm just going to hit refresh. Instantly, you see user permissions is hit. And the idea is it actually gives what permissions the user actually has currently. So with that information, it will render out this. It will render out what they have access to and what they don't actually have access to, which is going to be great for us. So don't worry about that. Once again, that's only done once. It's more of the project 12 that I want to focus on. So the project 12, as you can see, we've got the group list. As you can see, there we go. We've got the which groups are assigned in here to this project. We've got the title. Great. We've got the user list. All right, cool. We don't have any users against it. This is a new project. We've got an end date and a start date. Both are null. We've got an organization, which is null. So there's no organization connected to this particular project at all. We've got a priority and a status. So if we have a look at the priority, as you can see, it's value, label normal. And then we've got a status where we've got an ID, we've got the status, and then we've got the higher order status, which just tells us that, hey, this is part of backlog. We've just created this as news part of backlog. Everyone's actually happy with that. Now, another problem that we actually have is we don't have the values of the drop downs or anything like that. That's something that we need to actually populate in these properties over here. So I'm going to need to actually contact the backend to get the status and the priority for this. Now, the status and priorities can be different for the different types of objects. So priorities don't change, but the statuses do. So the priorities will always be set in stone. I don't have any of the tables in here anymore. I've purposely ripped them out. So you got the list, like for example, list of project statuses. This will contain a list of statuses. The idea being, if someone might translate this, they might actually include extra statuses or less statuses and so forth like that. Whereas the priority, for example, the priority is an integer field and it's set on an object of priorities, which is set in stone. Now, there is one little problem that we've got to figure out is how do we translate that? That is something we will have to translate at the Django side of thing, or hear me out, we can do it. There's nothing hurting us translating that. We can add in a component that will help translate it, because these are locked in stone. We'll know what it is at the front end. I'm just thinking whether it'll be easy to send from the translate it at the back end and send it to the front end. We will actually have the user's preferred language. So that makes it a lot easier. I will have to think about that one. Yeah. I'm gonna have to actually really get up. I'm gonna have to sit down and really think about that one. I think in the end, doing it in the back end will be better. However, there could be an opportunity a user changes what they have on the front end, and that might cause issues. But if that were the case, to get around that, I just reload in the data if I detect those changes. Other things that I would probably want to do is, depending on the object, I might want to store stuff in state. That way the user isn't constantly downloading data that rarely changes. But the problem is, when it does change, the user will need to refresh the page, and not navigating to another page will do that. So I'm just going in a loop right now, a little spiral, trying to decide how I want to get this data. So as you can see, we're getting the data. If we have a look at Pinia, we've got the permissions. That's pretty fine. We've got the object, in which case we're putting in the object and stuff like that. And this is where so I'm trying to think how I want to tackle a problem. Oh, I didn't mean to actually click that again. So we've got the status over here. These are going to be drop downs. I've got to populate that drop down, and that drop down for the status will change depending if it's a project or if it is a task, a requirement item, and so forth like that. And the idea of the statuses is the value of the statuses themselves, that list that you get, won't change that often. But how do I want to handle that? right. So sorry, I'm having a good think how I want to handle the statuses. So one thing I could potentially do is hijack on the permissions. So the user permissions. We've just got user permissions in there. That's fine for the moment, but I could also do it to initiate a lot of the data that we require later on. Now, statuses, there shouldn't be a lot. You're not dealing with 100,000 statuses. If you do, for example, have a like, let's say a Kanban column, a Kanban board with 100,000 columns, or a project that has 100,000 different statuses it can pick from, then you've got a problem. So fetching that data should be a problem, but it's an extra call that we probably don't need. We can initialize it with an initial data call, in which case we could potentially get a lot of other bits of data source. Yeah. Oh, sorry, be good. All right. So I'm just giving a really good thought. So we have the transfer 1.2. That takes, all of that does take pretty quick. If I just hit refresh, yeah, that does take fairly quick. We are waiting 10 milliseconds. Oh. Sorry, big yawn. I mean, it is plausible for me to do an init call and then just get all the data that we sort of can use in the background. But then again, if we load in project information, yeah. Oh, sorry, we go. Oh, keeps hitting me. All right. I don't know if I've already got the endpoint set up. I know with the original NearBeach we did actually set that up, so thus you get all the information you require for the front end, and everyone's quite happy with that. With this, I don't know. Whoops. Sorry, I was meant to scroll on this. If I minimize everything, let's open up this. Let's open up let's open up NearBeach. We want to open up the URLs, and we want to actually open up the, I think, the internal. So we've got the basic sort of stuff here, auth and user permissions. And then with the public, we don't have much at the moment. All right, so we haven't set it up here. I'm just trying to remember what it was in the current version of NearBeach. Sorry, I've actually got to do this on a separate sort of thing. We've got object data, tag list all. All right. So yeah, that's another bit of information that we need is the tag lists. If I open up a project or something like that, so let's Kanban boards. Yep. Yeah, let's do that one. If I hit reload, we've got all the data, and then we've got object and group and user data. All right, that's fine. And then list of item status values. All right. I think I know what I've got to do. I've got to create a and I feel like it has to be done at the same time as user permissions because you're doing one massive sort of fetch, and instead of having user permissions, it'll have it like user data. In which case, then I just send it all the tag information. Hopefully the system doesn't have tens of thousands of tags, because holy hell, if you have that many, but then again, I might not need the tags. I might only need the first 10 tags, and then I can do the tag system to actually do lookups, searching lookups, which might be great. Okay, not a problem. But I still need all the statuses. Because if I got all the statuses loaded into memory, into the state management, that's not going to be a problem. That's going to be great. That way I'm not constantly getting that data and stuff like that. It's going to be data that they're going to move from page to page and so forth like that. And they're most likely going to be using it. They most likely will need it. So if we have it as user permissions, sorry, not user permissions, we'll need to change this permission API view into data. And then yeah, send everything down. Isn't that right, Socks? You're like, yes, stop touching me. I can also put into state at the same time the user profile picture, the user ID, the username, and the user's name. Which I think to fetch user details, tag, statuses, and priority list. I think that's it. I think that's what we've got to do. Instead of using the user permissions, we migrate everything into user initial data, and we pass it everything. Now, we do actually have some state management already for the user permissions and so forth like that. If we go into source, we go under, this will be now the stores. We've got permissions in here. And if we actually have a look at the permissions, so I'm just going to minimize that. Yeah, we don't need that at the moment. As you can see in here, we've got the state. So current object permission, we actually figure out what permission level this particular user has on every single level. We've got all this information. This needs to be crunched down first. This needs to be initialized. The reason being is the menu relies on this information and all the permissions around that rely on it. So if a person goes to, let's say, a project that they don't have access to projects whatsoever, we're going to kick them off and make them go somewhere else before they even load in here. So in here, what actually happens is we get the maximum field value. Look at this is a reduce functionality. Oh yeah, we need to actually also do that. That's a to-do, which we will eventually do. There is a reason why we didn't do it like that. It's just because I was fighting TypeScript and I just got sick of it. But yeah, we've got all of this. We do actually do an Axios call within here. And I'm trying to remember where we actually initialize all of this. So, give me a socks. We actually initialize it on, I think, not in the components. This will be part of the pages. All right, here we go. We've got app structure, which is waiting for everything to load. Permission store, use permission store, show app structure, And we've got the error component. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I should change that error component not to a plain message like that, but actually having it with a slot. That way we can pass fancier information into it, but we'll come across that later. We've got the structure skeleton, so that is showing when, yep, with those particular conditions. All right. I'm just wondering when I actually hit the load of this whole thing. Give me a couple more seconds. We've got this. We've got the fetch permission data. Where is that used? Oops. Async. Ah, kidding me. Oh, this is used in the router. That's how we set it up. So yeah, the router comes in. If the permissions is not loaded, we then fetch all of that. In this sort of case, what we want to do then, we can still have like a fetch permission, not a fetch permission. What we could potentially do here is use Axios to call what we need. Initialize the data we want. So this will still check to see if the permission store is loaded, or the initial store is loaded, or something like that is loaded. If it isn't, we can easily get it to do an Axios request. To get it to fetch data and then populate that data and so forth like that. Now I'm just wondering with Pinia, because we've got the fetch permission data. If we go to that implementation, yeah, we fetch the data. We set the data in here, all fine and dandy. no longer technically permissions and stuff like that. Don't sit on the mouse. No longer looking at just the permission store. We're also looking at a bunch of other things in here too. For example, we've got an ad break. I'm fine with restructuring this. I just want to figure out what's the best thing to do. What can I add on in the future? So that way I'm not having to, not giving myself technical debt in the future as best as possible. So I'm thinking of creating composable that will initialize the data, and that's including the user permission. So user permissions, the tags, this, that, and so forth like that. That way, when the user sort of loads up the page, it fetches all this data. The composable will handle that. It will trigger all the required stuff. Now, I would then move the isLoaded into the shared sort of statuses, so we can actually have a store that will contain the status, the priority, and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm kind of leaning on. Where's workstation? There we go. So yeah, move this into its own composable. That way, if the user changes the language, it can handle a reload of all that data if required. However, a lot of that data will stay the same. That's perfectly fine. I just threw the ball over the room. I don't have a thing to fidget with. All right, this is going to be difficult now. Yeah, I just got to think. What other bits of data we're going to need? So if let's go to the demo and stuff like that. So this is just the project information, cool. So we'll have status, we'll have priority. Once again, they will also need to be translated. Actually, no, sorry. Status won't need to be, because I'm giving the user that ability to write in that. We won't be, because it's user defined, we won't actually handle that translation. All right, let's get this tenfold. The priority, however, we will need to translate. This piece of data we'll need. The tags we'll need. Public links we won't. Notes. None of that contains any. That's all user dynamic stuff. That's user dynamic. That's user dynamic. That's user dynamic. That's user dynamic. We've got cards, we've got tasks, we've got requirements. So that will use the dynamic. That's also user dynamic. So it's only the priorities that we got to worry about. So reloading all of this sort of nitty-gritty data is probably not needed. So I'm just giving a really good think at the moment. So I won't need much state. And the next thing to call it is, I don't know what to call it. I can split it out into separate stores. With that being said, I think priority we won't need to download because it's always just going to be those 5 values. So when you think about it, this priority, task priority set in stone. I could actually set that up. But then how will I handle the translations and stuff like that? Shoot. All right. Oh no, the translation shouldn't be that hard to do. I can make priority a component in itself. It can have a simple drop-down box. We can then send through the translations very easily. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. And then all I need to get from above is whether or not what object it is, and then in fact, let's actually go back over here. We just have priority, so it doesn't matter. We don't need to pass through the object. And then the rest is, all right. I think I've solved one problem. So I've solved the task priority. That's just going to be in itself a component. And we're going to handle the translation inside that component. We won't actually have the object itself attached to it. It'll be just priority. And it'll default to normal by default. That's great news. The status itself, that data we'll need. So project, task, requirement will all have status, and requirement item will have statuses too. So this is the demo. All right, cool. Let's search for all objects. Let's go into, let's say, requirement. So requirement will have a status and a requirement type, which, all right, cool. We'll need something for that. And then we'll have requirement items. We'll also have a requirement item well, I think that matches up. I have to double check that with the database. Give me 2 seconds. So list of requirement item status. All right, file mask that just to Python. So we have list of requirement item statuses. No, they don't marry up. All right, cool. That's fine. I'd rather double check that. And then we've got requirement item type, which I think is also another thing that we've got that is different. So we'll need a store for status and a store for type and a store for tags. Now I can put this all in one store. That's not going to be a problem whatsoever. And then I can easily write a method that will extract what I need out. Put it in the place where I want. And the good thing is we're not updating this frequently. However, if the user requires it to be updated, we can. But this list here, I'm not going to update that frequently. Same with this list. Not going to be updated frequently. This list is set in stone. Now the next question is, do I have one store or three? If we actually have a look at Pinia at the moment, so there's not too much at the moment with Pinia. You got the permissions, you got the navigation, and you got the object. All right, they all do specific things. If we were going to add in 3 stores, they'll be very specific. There'll be statuses, there'll be requirement types, or types, I should say. Statuses, types, and tags. However, I'm looking... I'm leaning more on one, calling it object reference data. Probably, I can pick probably a better name. What is a good word for the data stored for items like status, priority, and tags? All right, let's just metadata, object metadata. All right, I'm done. That way it's all in one place. If it keeps expanding to the point where it becomes really, really huge, I will look at splitting it up. So yeah, all right. I think I've got a plan of attack now. So let's minimize all this. Let's open up this. Let's open up our source. Let's open up our stores. We're going to create one, and it's just going to be called object metadata. I'm just double checking how everything else is sort of named. Object metadata, sweet. We're gonna create a new one. We're just gonna call it object metadata.spec.ts. That's our testing sort of stuff. We won't have many tests at the moment. We'll write this all out and we'll come back for the tests. All right, so very much like this is what we're gonna do is we're gonna set everything up like this. That's just the object sort of stuff. The object one is extremely simple. So we want store, this is going to be called object metadata.ts. I gotta fix all of these up. Import, define, store from Pinia, sweet. We're gonna export const use object metadata. All right, yep. Not how we want it to set up. So that, there we go. Define store. And we're going to go object metadata. We're going to open it up like that. Then we're going to write state. And we're going to go return. We've got an object. I'm going to add code in here in a second. But I got to think what I want to actually store there. And how am I going to handle this? Now, we've got statuses. And there's one of two ways we can do this. Because the statuses change depending on the object, so if you're on a project or a task and so forth like that, you can have different statuses. What we could potentially do is we can have a define status store like this, and it's empty as hell. And then we can have status references, or status object statuses. That's going to be an object, and then we can in here go project, task, requirement, and requirement item, and have it like that. Then on mount, what I could do is I could hit an action on here that changes the status to the appropriate one in here. And it's going to be, how are you going? Hopefully you're going well. I think that's going to be the better solution in this sort of case. However, that being said, I'm just trying to think the process of order of processes and stuff like that. If someone was given a link to, let's say, project 1, they have permissions and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to worry about that. They hit the router realizes none of the data is loaded. It just loads in the data. Then once the router actually happens and it's happy, it will then load in the project component, in which case then I have a before mount or something like that, which then switches out this status. All right, cool. I have a plan of attack for this. Great. So we've got statuses. Now, that being said, I've also got to double check that other statuses are around. Give me a couple of seconds. Let me just let's go admin. Yeah, I've destroyed that from there. All right, cool. Let's close that. Let's close that. Let's go open. Let's do that. This is going to be, so we've got projects, we've got requirements, we've got requirement items, we've got tasks, we need requests for change. All right, request for change is hard-coded. Sorry, I'm processing in my head how I can actually, there's a couple of ways I can deal with that. Not bad, learning Python can through Harvard's CS50P class. It's very good. Oh, that's good to hear. Oh, and another thing is we've got to actually handle the higher order statuses too. That's not going to be a problem. We'll get that data from the back end. I've just got to build the interface for TypeScript just to say, hey, this is what it's going to look like. Higher order set, yep. And then sprint. Sprint is going to be, once again, text choices. Sorry, give me a couple of secs. I'm just going to have a look at the sprint. All right, it's just that. All right, cool. Draft current finished. All right. So for the request for change and the sprints, we might do, because they're set in stone, we might not worry about putting that information into the store whatsoever. We'll probably create our own little components that deal with the statuses themselves for those particular things, much like we're doing that with the priority, where it's set in stone, we know what the data is going to be like. That, and we can handle that translation. All right, so going in here, sorry, I'm getting super distracted. So object metadata. So we've got requirement item. I didn't even write down what I was going to actually add in. List of projects we've done, requirement tasks, request for change. That's what we've got to put in, request for change. And that's it. And once again, that's just going to be an empty array and stuff like that. We'll put it in the interfaces very, very shortly for this. I'm not too worried about it at the moment. Yeah. So we've got the object statuses. Then we got the object types. Object types. Sorry, that's going to be an object like that. I'm just going to be consistent. That's all. So we've got the object types. In here, it'll be requirement and requirement item. Those are the only things using that. We'll then need object tags. That's just going to be an array because they all share the same tags. Not a problem. Priority, once again, that's just hard-coded. That's not going to be a problem. I'm just going to look through these again. To apologize, but I'd rather triple check everything. So we've just done that one. That's going to be hard-coded. Those are fine. That doesn't have anything. Notes don't have any. That's user-generated. The tags, we'll just put in the tags. That's perfectly fine. We've got the sprints. A structure. The object types. Give me a minute. I'll get back to you on that. That will be fine. Customers, linked objects, that's all user generated. That's all fine. So that'll all be search and stuff like that. If we go into requirements, I'm just going to go into search. So in requirements, you've got types in here. So it just defines what the this requirement is. So in this sort of case, not specific, customer requirements, system requirements, and so forth like that. Those are just the defaults. You can extend that out however you want. That's actually something that is customizable in NearBeach. So the object types in here references this. Now, you got this at the requirement level. You also have that at the requirement item level too. So you've actually got the requirement item types, which are completely and utterly different. Because now you're looking at, instead of a helicopter view, you're now looking at more of a ground level view. If that makes sense. So we've got the status. Oh, all right, cool. I'm just going to go search. I'm just going to go down here. We're going to go into the test Kanban board. In here, we've got priority. That's going to be hard-coded. Those are user-generated content. We don't need to worry about that. User-generated. Pretty sure this is just going to be user-generated. Yeah, this is just user-generated. Downloads. Yeah, that's just going to be user-generated. MISC. Assign tags. Yeah, we've got the tags all ready for that. That's not going to be hard. And public links. Yeah, that's not going to be hard either. All right. So yeah, with this particular store, this is going to be the object metadata. So it's the data required in those particular drop downs. For the last half an hour, I was scratching my head how I wanted to do this because there's multiple different ways you can do this. On a page load, you can just fetch it then and there. However, that being said, if they're visiting multiple projects, they're going to constantly fetch that piece of data, which isn't going to change that often. How often do you actually change the status list? Not very often. So what I'm thinking of is when the user refreshes the page, the router notices that we don't have everything loaded, and it will actually initialize all this data. That way, if someone goes to a project, the data's there. There is no more request for that information. That doesn't really change that often. So yeah. Which reminds me, I'm going to have to put the is loaded, and that's going to be false straight away. Once again, once we actually load everything up, that gets changed to true, and we move on with our lives. So yeah. So this would be the data for the moment. Now we do need an action. So we'll need status. We'll also need type up here. That's going to be an empty sort of thing. Sorry, I like things in alphabetical order. Object tags, yeah. I think that's all fine and dandy for the moment. But yeah, we need an action. And this is where I've forgotten how I set up the actions on this. Is it just, cool, it's just actions like that. All right, sweet. We're just going to put that over there. We're just going to type in actions. Going to do that. We're going to open up that. And then in here, what we need to do is we need to update object statuses. And this is where I need to pass through data. And I know I've done this. We've got the actions, we've got the field, and then we've got the string. Okay, so it's going to be like that. All right, that's not a problem. It's going to be really, really simple for us. So we're going to go back over to our object metadata. We're going to be like, all right, cool. We're just going to do something like this. So we've got the update object status. We then have in here, give me a couple of seconds. Destination, sorry. That's going to be a string. All right. Check destination exists. Actually, fetch data. We're going to have const data equals, and this is where we go. Do I just go this dot object status, and we pass through the destination like that. All right, and then we want to go this dot status equals data, but if it's undefined, we're going to default it to an empty array. Now this is actually hating me for this. Oh yeah, because I've got to set the type. So what I'm going to do here is it doesn't like that. This is where I've got to start doing the interface stuff. Oh yeah, typing in TypeScript. Yeah, all good, all good. I do believe we are having an ad very, very shortly. So what I want to do is, this could easily be undefined. I mean, why can't I just... Nah, it still hates me. Alright. I need to set up the interface for these object statuses. We need a label and a value. That's pretty easy. We might actually have it already. So what I want to do, this will be part of the utils. We've got interfaces in the utils. We're going to move this eventually out of the utils and actually have a folder called types. We've got the document, we've got the drop down, we've got the folder, we've got the menu. We've got the status there we go. We've got the status interfaces in here like this. Now, I don't know if we're actually using this anywhere. We do. Oh, awesome. We are using it. And we have it exactly how we're going to get the data from the backend. And I just realized that we're on that. Sorry, I'm getting really excited. So, yeah, we are getting there slowly. Yeah. So much to do, so I'm juggling everything at the moment. So once I get the statuses, I can then do the status drop downs. That data should be there before the user sees that project page because they would have loaded it on in a net to initialize all the data. Then that will be all done. I'll be happy. And then I just need the next problem to solve. We've got lots of problems, so don't worry about that. And welcome back, everyone. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to implement this interface. So what I want to do, I want to go over here, and then this is where it's like the types are array of something something. Array as prop type. Oh, hang on, I mucked that up. Array as, it's just array as prop type. And then we're doing that, and then we're just doing that, and then we're importing prop type. Like so. And then we're doing this view conversion of array constructor to type. And then I'm going to open up one of these. So we've got it. Yeah, we've got it there. Yeah, I think I've mucked up. No, it doesn't like that. Give me 2 seconds. This is where I've just got to go JavaScript object types inside object. I might need to create another interface. Yeah, I think I'm kind of need to create another interface. That's not a problem. We can create interfaces out of the wazoo. I'm going to go into the stores. I'm going to go and going to call this object meta data interface.ts. All right, cool. I'm just going to bring this one over here. So I'm kind of referencing it. Also going to bring that one a bit down below. Yep, that's perfectly fine. So what I want to do is I want to find that file I just opened. And we want to export interface. And this is going to be object metadata interface. Easy done like that. That's pretty easy. It is essentially just going to be all of this. That's all it is. We are just going to paste that in like this. We're going to format this. And then all we need to do is do that. Now the object status. Ooh, so I'm going to need another interface for that. So we have status interface. We don't have object stata interface. So I'm going to have to do that very, very quickly. So we're right-hand clicking. We're going to create a new file. We're going to call it object status interface.ts. We're going to be like this. We're going to go export interface, object status interface like that. And then what we're going to do is we're grabbing this object. We're going to cut it out of here and we're going to paste it in here. We're just going to delete this. We're also going to delete this. We're going to refresh everything. That's fine. We're going to leave that for that at the moment. And we're going to go object status interface into here. Now we've got the object types and we're going to have to do that also down here. We're going to go object types interface.ts. All right, easy done. We're going to export interface, object types interface. Easy done. We're gonna grab, I'm just gonna delete these two lines out of here. I'm just gonna paste them into here. We're just gonna leave it like that. Once again, we're gonna come back to that. And then we're gonna type in object types interface. Oh, sorry, just double check my phone. All right, yep. We'll need object tags interface. We'll need that we actually don't need. We'll have that and we'll have that. Now, yeah, object tags interface. We'll quickly do that very, very quickly. So object tags interface.ts. That'll be export interface. Whoops. Object tags interface, and there we go. In here, we'll have a value, which will be a number. And we'll have a label, which will be a string. Basic key value pairs. Whether or not I might include other bits of information in here. Background color is going to be a string. Text color is going to be a string. I think that's it for the moment. I'm going to have to look at what we currently do for NearBeach because I know that we actually do send the background color and the text color. We allow the user to set those. That way we don't need to worry about automating the text color dependent on the background color because I don't want to do that. So yeah. Easy done. So going back to the object data interface, what we now need here is it's going to be the object tags interface, but we're making sure that these are like that. We need to import that. That's perfectly fine. So we import that. We're happy with that so far. The status will be same as that. And the same as that. Because, actually, no, it'll be different. Sorry. Those two will be different. And the reason being is the tag interface is fine. That will be an array of this. But the object type interface, we're actually going to have a layer lower than that. So in this sort of case, we'll have a status interface, which if we go to here, this will be the status interface, like that. All right, which is at the lower level. And then we'll have the types interface, which we haven't created just yet. So I'm going to right-hand click. I'm going to create that right now. We're going to have types interface.ts. There it is. It'll be very similar to the status interface. Yeah, we've got ID and status. Just wondering if we need to change that to value and status. However, that being said, that is something I can tackle on my side with Welk. So I'm just giving a quick think about how I'm going to tackle one thing. I can tackle that with Welk. It will... Yeah, I want to have it. I want to tackle that with Welk. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to export interface. We're going to go type interface. We're just going to have an ID, which is going to be a number. We're going to have a... not status, but type is going to be a string. And that's all we need. Easy done. Now, I'm going to do something with the tags then. Export types interface. Give me 2 seconds. That's just now. No, not create. Thank you very much. Import it, you silly duffer. Import type types interface. There we go. Thank you. All right, cool. With the tags interface, we've got object tags interface. I'm once again going to remove the objects because there's no objects involved. We're going to rename this one, rename it to just the tag interface because it's at the lowest level. And if we go into tags interface, we're just gonna, it's gonna be renamed tags interface. I'm gonna have ID, I'm going to have tag, and we're just gonna deal it with like that. What I'm going to do with Welk is, when for the drop downs, I'll give the user the ability to change which field will be the value, which field will be the label. By default, they will be set to value and label respectively, and these overrides will just override it for the user. I think that's going to be a lot easier for us. That way we can send data from the backend and have it labeled more appropriately with the fields that are on the backend. I think that's a better way of doing things. So this is all set up now. Yay. If we go into the metadata, I haven't done, all right, I did do is loaded. I don't know. Problem is, I don't know where I'm storing this. I don't know where I'm going to be like, this is the thing for the thing. PNR, types, script, type scripts, store. Let's have a look. Concept, all right, cool, the state, yada, yada, yada. All right, we don't have types in there at the moment. So if we go TypeScript interface, All right, that's not helping me at all. TypeScript with state, yada yada yada. Oh, okay. I've just done all that work for no reason. Actually, no, not for no reason. I just lie. I can probably get rid of this one. So this will be object status interface. This one will be as object types interface. That'll be as tag interface. That'll be as status interface. That'll be the types interface. Easy done. We'll just import these two very, very quickly. Now, inside of all of this, I will have as, and this will be status interface. Yep, cool. As status interface. Yep, cool. As status interface. As status interface. Status interface. All right, cool. We'll go down into all of these and double check everything and so forth with that. That being said, do I need them? Do I need to be that pedantic? I don't think I need to. Because you can look at the type and infer that. So if I can hover over this, object status interface, all right, requirement, all right, it's not there. Oh, I haven't put them in here. All right, so that would be status interface. I do need to import them. All right, cool. That's easy. So if I go back to the object metadata now, we'll fix this up in a minute. I'm not worried about that. You know, if I hover over this, there we go. It's inferred. All right, cool. The requirement is not inferred because I haven't set up the types in here. So this will be type interface. Types interface. All right, done like that. We're happy with that. And then the tags interface, yeah, that's top level. Those are top level. We're all done. I can get rid of that. I can get rid of those. All right, I'm going to go const data. This is going to be either a status interface or undefined. Actually, I think I can do it at this level. No, it doesn't like that at all. Oh, it's going to do that really weird thing. All right. No, it still hates it. All right, element implicitly has an any type because string can't be used to index type. All right, so if object keys dot oh, piss off. I'm doing the check there. So, if the object status contains that destination should exist. I know we've come across this problem like 2 weeks ago. I keep forgetting how I solved it. Piss. And we do some really weird stuff with it. So, yeah, field as type object. All right, cool. That's how we've done it. I'm just going to delete all of that. That's perfectly fine. So we're going to go const data equals where we're going to cheat. We're going to use an any at the start. That's fine. I'll get rid of it. This dot object status where, and this is where they've got the field of key value object type. So we go destination as key of, and that's going to be the object status interface. All right, so this is actually happy with this. Cool. However, we're going to do that. I'm going to hover over this. Now, this could be in any. Now, if I get rid of this and I go status interface, that should work. Because if this is undefined, those two question marks makes it that. We've got all of this down perfectly fine now. So then I can then get rid of this and just go this dot status. Is going to be that. And it's happy with that. All right, let's move on to the next one. So update object types. Once again, destination is a string. This dot type equals this dot object types, where destination is an object, and that's it. That's all we need to do. I like that. Cool. Easy. And there's our types for all of this. So I'm not too worried about filling this data out. It's going to be pretty easy to do. That's going to be easy to do. Also, we're not filling out that, or that when we actually get the data. That's because we don't know what they are. We'll let the system do that. Actually, sorry, the tags will be. Tags will be. All right. Let's get the backend to do stuff. So I'm going to close every other tab in here. I'm just going to close all of these. Cool. We're going to minimize everything. We're going to open up everything. We're going to open up the NearBeach. We're going to open up the URLs. We're going to open up the internal. Now this permission API, I'm probably going to deprecate or just delete it in general, because we're probably going to do what we want it to do. Sorry, yeah, we're going to put it somewhere else, essentially. However, that being said, I'm going to open it up. This is all the stuff that we want in this, which is kind of cool. This is just the view. So we get the data, we get the values, and then we serialize everything and pass it back. We're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be in a different sort of view. I'm going to put that over there for the moment. We are not going to break this just yet. We're going to minimize utilities. We're going to open up the views API version 1. Now that's under permission API view. That's under users. We're going to create one. I'm just user initial data API. Hang on. User user initial data API view. Yep. .py. Sorry. Brain was like discussing with myself whether or not I wanted to keep it like that. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to yank all of those lines. I'm just going to paste it in here because we've gotten far with this and I'm happy with this. We're just going to modify it. So we'll need the permission serializer. That's a given. We'll need the user group. That's a given. We'll also need the user table. So we'll also pass that through. This will not be called permission view. This will be called user initial data view. Like that. The serializer class will be none. It's only going to get, and that's perfectly fine. But we're going to move this data somewhere else. So what we're going to have is we're going to have a def and we're going to get permissions. Now, is it going to use itself? I don't know yet. We'll find out. We're going to cut that one out. We're going to paste that one there. We're all happy with that. That's perfectly fine. We'll need to write in a method to get the current user's permissions. Easy done. Now, I don't see a this in here whatsoever. And in fact, that should be return. This should be a, oops. Static method. We'll pass through the request because we'll actually need the user. And I've just realized we only need the user. Like that. I don't need to pass everything to it. So in here, we're just going to get permissions equals this underscore get permission request user. All right, cool. Sorry, that's meant to be self. I've got that as a static method. No longer needed that as a static method. Self. Cool. There you go. We're not going to deal with the results just yet. Get method to retrieve initial data required by user. All right, cool. We'll also need some user information. So what I want to do is user results equals, and then we just want user.objects.filter, and then we want username equals requested dot username. Now I don't know if it's user equals request user. It probably is that. I keep forgetting which one it is. And then, oh, do we? I think I have to do it that. Now I know there is another ad happening. So we've got the user results. All right. So we get the user. And then we're going to go user results. And then we're going to do permissions. And that's going to be self.get permissions user. That's going to be request.user. So I can get rid of that. So that is then going to be extra required data. All right, we are on an ad break at the moment. So what I've also got to do is restrict the user information being sent to the front end. We don't want to accidentally send a hash and stuff like that, because someone could be like, oh, there's a password hash. Yeah, that's bad. So I'll need to do the values on that particular field. We'll also need to build in the watch is going to power save mode. We'll need to build in the, oh my god, my brain. It's the end of the night. Brain just keeps going suspension. No. It's the serializers. I'll need to build in the serializer template for this. It shouldn't be too hard. We'll know what the fields are and all those sort of connections. That might have to happen next stream. And I might need to just write down on a sticky note what I need to do. Or I do them during the tomorrow night. So, and Flawless Nitin, how are you? To who are you talking? To anyone who is watching. So yeah, essentially I'm using you guys as rubber ducks. So yeah, welcome. I hope you are having fun. Alright, so we've got the user permission, the user results there. We need to make sure that we have the values. We'll have the ID, we'll have the, we won't have the ID, we'll have the username, we'll have the first name, we'll have the last name, we'll have the email. Those, pretty much all the fields that we really want to send about the user details to the front end. Alright, cool. Then we'll have the user results. That will grab that, and then we need to change the serializer here in a second, so that's not going to be bad. Let's go into the serializers. Let's go into the user. We've got both the permission serializers and so forth like that. We want to go into new Python, and what we want to do is we're going to have user initial data serializer. .py. Oh, that's just Nightbot. All right, cool. I'm gonna add those in, and very similar to like the user serializer, we've got this. We've got the fields username, ID, last name, email, profile. I'm gonna actually nick all of these. Yeah, I'm gonna nick all of these. I'm just wondering where this one's actually utilized. Because if this one isn't utilized, base object serializer. Use the list. All right. We definitely don't want to hijack this one. But we definitely want those fields. So I'm just going to copy those and just replace them there. Easy done. What we could do is we could extend this. So instead of model serializer, it'll be something like this. I'm just going to yank that because it's just going to be easier for me to paste that in. And then what we can do is we can copy this. It's going to be referral there for a second, and then we'll go user initial data serializer. There we go. We just need to import this. Is it done? We just import it. NearBeach, yep. User. There we go. There it is. We don't need this anymore. We've got this. That way, I'm not dealing with when this changes. It changes on that too. I don't think I need a meta for this. I don't need that because it's handled by the child. I just need the fields themselves, which I'm just going to move this over here because it means I can add them in as I add them in. So, initial data, we've got the initial data coming through. We're then getting the permissions, which is all of this data. So we should have a field called permissions equals. And this is where I've got to think about serializers again and how serializers handle all of this. I'm going to have a look at the project because I know I did something with the project serializer. I'm just going to bring that one over here. With the project serializer, we've got the organizations. All right, mini equals true, read only. Okay, cool, that's it. We just need to import the serializations for these particular cases. So if I go back to here, we just need to go permission serializer. We're going to state mini equals true. Read only is true in this sort of case. Allow null is going to be true because we don't want it to crash. Then we're just going to import that. Perfectly fine. All right, so we've got the permissions. We'll need to oh shit, who's awake? So I'm just getting distracted. All right, so we've got that, we've got the permissions. Now we'll need to, in here, add, what else do we need? So we'll have username, we'll have permissions, we'll have the object statuses. Object types. Very similar to the front end sort of stuff. So we'll have object statuses, we'll have object types. That's also what we needed. And once again, we'll follow what we've got in the interfaces with the backend. We'll create a serializer that looks like the interface. So yeah, we've got that now. So what I need to do is to do object statuses, to do object types, and then we just need to serialize data, and we go serializer equals, now it's not the permission serializer, this is going to be the user initial data serializer. We're going to pass that through like that. Many will be false in this sort of case. Because it should be one object, and then we should return that. All right, so I don't know if this is going to work straight away, so we're going to test it. We're going to set up the API for this, and this is going to be path. This is going to be user. It's going to be called the initial data. And then we're going to go up here. If you have a look, we've got that up there, import that. This will be like that. And then we're just going to go down here. We're just going to go user, initial data API view, all of that. And I'm just going to lint all of that very, very quickly. We're just going to remove that. So we can, oops, I didn't mean to do that. In the very near future, we can get rid of this one. That will be perfectly fine. We'll actually add in a to-do, remove the user permissions as the user initial data covers this. He's done. All right. Let's see if it works. Let's go to localhost API, and then we'll have version 1, and then we'll have user, and then initial data. Nah, it failed. All right. Not a problem. Cannot resolve keyword user. All right. It's username I wanted. It's an easy fix. I just need to find this. So in here, it's username as that. We just wait a couple of seconds. All right, profile picture into, oh, cannot resolve keyword, profile picture into fields and stuff like that. Now, how are we doing that elsewhere? This is where I've got to figure out how I'm doing this. Which isn't going to be hard. We actually got it right down here. If we actually go down into the permissions API view, move that back over into here, we can go, all right, cool, request user group object filters. Now this is actually at the user group level. Yeah. And all right, maybe not what I wanted. Let's go into the user serializer. Probably just don't need okay, not a problem. Let's find out how I do this properly. So we do this in base object serializer. No, not what I want. Base, no, not what I want. User init data serializer. No, not what I want. I probably don't set it yet. All right, not a problem. This is something that we need to implement. So I'm going to do a simple to-do, implement the profile picture. Easy done. All right, not a problem. Let's just hit refresh. All right, where now object query set does not support item assignment. This is a big me error. This should be a simple get. And then because we're doing a get, yeah, we probably don't need those. All right. User object not supported item assignment. User. All right, let's do a breakpoint. I want to find out what's actually going on, where we're actually breaking stuff. So we get the user, which is user admin, easy done. I'm then saying with the user results, add in that. It's breaking there. Oh, all right. I know I've done something in the past where I've added something to that. And I was pretty sure I did it under the project style. I thought I did it under project stuff. So we scroll all the way up to the top. We've got create. No, that's all fine. Destroy. No, that's fine. List. So we've got object results. We grab all of that list. We've got the project results. All right, cool. We've got the search. Yep, all right. Show closed. True. All right, cool. That's filtering it all. Looks like I'm not with that. Okay, not a problem. Let's go over here. Let's open up a new tab. Let's go source VM bin activate. Let's go Python 3 manage a shell. And from here, we want to go from NearBeach.models, import everything. That's perfectly fine. Let's go a equals project.objects.get, and let's go pk equals 1. All right, so there's our that. And if I go let's say title, we'll get that. If I go a.hello equals Sally, I might be doing this wrong. So I might need to do it like that. All right, where the serializer is passed, data keyword must be called is valid before your attempt to serialize data representation. Oh. The field permissions was declared on serializer, user data serializer, but not included in the fields option. Oh, all right. Easy done. That's not a problem. We just go into here and we go into here. What we want to do is, yeah, I've got to extend this. Now, the one problem I only want to extend it. All right, give me 2 seconds. Python array append. All right, give me a couple of more seconds. I'm just doing a quick test. Let's say a equals 1, 2, 3, easy done. And then we go a plus equals 4, 5, 6. And all right, cool. Delete in, delete in, delete in, delete in, delete in. All right. I'm not going crazy. Maybe I'm going crazy. All right, let's just get rid of that. Let's just put those back in. So it likes it like that. It doesn't like it when... All right. Give me a couple of seconds. Django serializers, extend serializer. Might as well find out. So yeah, base item serializer, we go all the way through, but what about the fields? Ah, that's how we do. All right, cool. No, I like that. That's easy. So what we want to do is we want to go user serializer.meta.fields.that. That's how we want to do it. And I'm happy with that. That means we can extend this as much as possible. And if we extend the base class, we're not worried about this one breaking or anything like that. So I'm happy. Let's go back over here. Let's just hit, no, I'm on the wrong thing. I want the API. Let's hit refresh. User is missing meta.models attribute. All right, not a problem. So what we want to do, models equals, and then we're going to go user serializer.meta.model. All right, so it's inheriting its parent's information into here. That will stop it from breaking. User object has no attribute profile picture, and this is where I am gonna have to figure this out at a later date. But no, I should know this. No, I'm crazy. Don't worry. Let's go to GitHub. Let's go into NearBeach. 0.31 has this. So we want to go into NearBeach. We want to go into our views, our API, users, I think. Users API. So we've got the def, we've got the list. Was there a retrieve? Oh, that's annoying. All right. Group and user API. Get group and user list. User list, user group object, username, yep. Group and user serializer, user list, group, user. All right, cool. This might be one of those sort of cases where I need to figure out how to add it on. Oh, annotate. There it is. That's it. But that is a filter. Oh. Let's go into here. Yeah, initial data. Let's put annotate on. I don't think it likes it. Yeah, it doesn't like it. Yeah. So I'm just having a think. I could fetch it through other means and so forth like that. That's not going to be a problem. Otherwise, so if I put that there, let's do something like that. So profile picture equals signed user, document, and so forth like that. If I apply a filter up here and then add in the annotation, then check to make sure we have one record only. Error, otherwise. If the length of user results is not 1, we want to return response status equals status dot bad request. And that's all I need to send. And then we go user results equals user results dot first. Yeah, we're just doing that. That should be fine. Now the next problem is, I'm not worried about that then. If that's just a typo, so defined user result, and then this just becomes user result. Easy done. That could be an easy way, and we're also checking to make sure that that username does work and so forth like that. I like that. Just need to refresh a dozen times. Cannot resolve keyword assigned user ID. We've got assigned user instead. So assigned user, and then yeah, I think it's going to be like that. Sorry, there's been a few. Oh, what the? Cannot resolve keyword. Assigned user into field. Choices are RFC lead, change task, assigned user. Hang on. Do we actually have document change user? Alright, no, that's not what we want. User profile picture. We do have user profile picture, so we can get rid of this. Awesome. So we've got user profile picture, and then under, and then that should be the document, and then we get the document key. Document key is not in there. All right, so if we search for document, oops, sorry about that. We've got document, or we have key. I'm going to assume it is now just called key. Got attribute error when trying to get username on serialize. All right, so it looks like we've gone further than this. I'm going to hit a breakpoint here to just double check that we're no longer having that problem. We're no longer having that problem. So we can see that the user results, we've got at least one in there. And we can see that that's all of that. Hey, the code guy, how are you going? Socks is here. Let's go on that. She's actually fast asleep. Oh, no, she's awake. She's just not facing me at the moment. Hey, Socks, you gonna say hello? And she's like, what the hell's happening? Let me just... Oh, sorry. Let me put this on workstation. I know a lot of people get dizzy whenever I do that. There we go. There's Socks. She's been good tonight. Alright. So we made it here. We then go over, we get the first results. I'm just going to open up this. We then have... do we have profile picture in here? Profile picture, none. Alright, that's not going to be a problem. We then step over. We should see user results in there too. So if we open up user results, sorry, permission. We should now see permission. There's our permission. Sweet. That's a query set. All right. Awesome. And then got attribute error when attempting to get a field value for username on serializer user initial data. So all right, has no attribute query set object has no attribute username. All right. So somewhere in here, we've broken it. We've balked it in here. If we have a look at the user serializer, it's saying we don't have something for username. I'm just going to hit play. I'm going to hit this again, just to hit the breakpoint. And I'm just going to move forward. The reason being is I'm going to hover over this. So this is a query set user admin. I'm going to view this. The reason why I'm viewing this is I'm searching for, so we've got auth user, super user, we've got ID, password, last login, super user, username. We do actually have username in there. All right. I'm just going to hit forward again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this one, the get permissions. I'm going to simplify it. We just want the user data in here now. So I'm just going to wait. Sorry, I was meant to take off that breakpoint. We're going to hit play. Got attribute error when attempting to get the field username on serializer. The serializer field may be named incorrectly, does not match the attribute key or the query instance. Query set object has no attribute. Oh. All right. Oh, you know what I've done? I was serializing the wrong thing. Boom. All right, so that's working. Let's get that back in. Boom. All right, cool. Now we've got permissions in there, and we've got them how we want it structured and so forth like that. We don't have the profile pictures. This user doesn't have profile pictures, but that's perfectly fine. We'll test that in the near future. I just now need to get the types in there and the tags in there. And this has been pretty fast. But once again, this is my local. Of course, it's going to be pretty fast. 25 milliseconds. Nothing. So, yeah. I'm going to probably call it there tonight. The reason being is I need to get some sleep. It's 10:30. It's getting really, really late. But we will continue with this, unless I actually do this tomorrow and I actually just nut this out and get it all set up. But I like how we're going to get initial data this way. We're going to populate everything that we require. This can then be extended out further later on and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. Just, there's still a lot of work that we've got to do. There's still a lot of work we've got to do with Welk. But we are making strides at the moment, which is nice. So, yeah. Anyway, I am going to raid maybe. Streaming until I lose my house. I hope he doesn't lose his house. Alright, cool. Let's go raid maybe. But yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining tonight. It has been wonderful. We got a lot done. I'm getting pretty excited about the API connecting up with the front and all that kind of fun stuff. Hopefully over the next couple of streams we can get the CRUD up and working. So we've got the create done. It would be great if I can get the updated done next. And so forth like that. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. And for those on YouTube, sadly you won't be able to join us with the raid, but thank you very much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It actually does help the channel. So yeah, thank you, and have a great night. And Luca Socks, she's been cool.